can we then not ask ourselves whether our own community's values are really ethical? I think most, if not all of us, know that at least at some level, they are not. We all know, for example, that we live in a consumeristic culture that influences us to overvalue material goods. The ethicist Peter Singer has argued that people who have some degree of affluence should give, on average, far more than they currently do to the poor. Do unto others as you would have done unto you is an ethical ideal hardly any one of us really puts into practice. In pursuing this line of reasoning, I am going beyond what most economists would. There is one radical approach to determining how healthcare resource allocation methods should be allocated, which arises out of criticisms of equality, that is called the person trade-off method. It asks members of the community to explicitly choose how they would allocate resources across different groups of people with different healthcare needs. Thus, it eschews the quality procedure and goes directly to the goal of determining how to allocate resources. But if we have reason to doubt the wider community's judgments, not just on the grounds of cognitive limitations, as Kahneman was in effect arguing, but also on the grounds of deficiencies in ethical judgment in general, then do we not also have reason to doubt the prescriptions that would arise from any method that relies centrally on community ratings? When it comes to care for people with mental illness in particular, the community's judgments are inevitably affected by a phenomenon that happily has been receiving increasing scrutiny in recent years: stigma. Stigma towards people with mental illness clearly tends to influence our perception of how many resources ought to be allocated to the care of people with mental illness. So what all these arguments add up to is the idea that economic analysis by itself is going to tend to understate the amount of resources that should be allocated to people with mental illness. So, what should we do about this? Well, I would like to suggest a number of practical consequences which will probably be viewed as controversial. It seems to me first that this suggests a need for more systematic and explicit ethical reflection on resource allocation decisions in healthcare. Health research projects are subjected, rightly so, to detailed ethical scrutiny. Is a payment of $10 for a half-hour interview too much or too little? Can it truly be viewed as legitimate compensation for a study participant's trouble, or does it exercise undue pressure on the person to participate in the study, and so on? And those are very real dilemmas that our ethics committees grapple with. While all across the province, indeed most developed countries, ethics committees have been assembled to spend hours deliberating such questions, the much more important questions of which healthcare services are delivered, how, and to whom, receive practically no ethical attention. We do have some ethical mechanisms in place. Of course, we have the media, we have CMDPs, we have the associations of physicians, the Conseil de Médecins, etc. But these tend to function more on an exceptional basis. So, paying more ethical attention to such issues would have wide-ranging consequences. For example, following the recommendation of the Castonguay Commission, the provincial government is currently setting up a Quebec version of the British NICE. It's going to be called the Institut National d'Excellence en Santé. Clearly, economists need to play a large role in any such institute. Only economists or people equivalently trained can make the careful calculations and analyses needed to accurately describe the cost and outcome trade-offs that arise from alternative resource allocation decisions. But it seems to me that the new institute should give a large and explicit place to ethical reasoning. Some of our best ethicists should be there. And there's more. The manner in which the Ministry of Health and Social Services is organized also has ethical implications. One of the changes that occurred within the MSSS under Dr. Frial's leadership, has been a new emphasis on measuring quality and enforcing quality standards. This has benefited mental health to some degree with the recent creation of the Institut National d'Excellence en Santé Mentale, National Institute for Excellence in Mental Health, a development that I'm very grateful for. But the resources devoted to that institute are minuscule in comparison with those given to improving quality in cancer care, for example. These governance decisions at the level of the MSSS have ethical dimensions as well. But such decisions are not, and Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, are not shaped by any systematic, deliberative ethical review. At a more micro level, we could be delivering much better mental health care if we organize ourselves to do so, even without additional resources. It is, in my view, far more unethical for a psychiatry department in Montreal today to not provide multidisciplinary, community-based, continuous care to people with the most disabling forms of schizophrenia than it is for clinical staff to invite patients to participate in a psychosocial study that carries no risks whatsoever, a research practice that is prescribed on ethical grounds. But the question of what is ethical for a psychiatry department to do or not to do is not asked in any careful, systematic way. I could go on and on. There have been repeated calls for increasing the number of health economists in our province, and I will be the last to say that we don't have an important role to play. But the trade-offs that we clarify need to be fed into systematic processes for ethical reflection throughout our healthcare system and indeed our government as a whole. And I think that Margaret Somerville is right when she asserts that such ethical reflection needs to be nourished by a wide range of perspectives, including religious ones. Such systematic reflection would, I am sure, lead us to allocate more resources to mental health care and allocate them better. Thank you for your time.